everyone, and welcome back to the English Learning Podcast. I'm Jason, your host, and as always, I'm joined by my wonderful co-host, Julia. Hi, Julia.
Hi, Jason, and hello to all our listeners. We're so excited to have you with us today for another great episode.
Yes. Today, we're talking about something that so many English learners struggle with: fixing your English accent. Have you ever felt like no matter how much you practice, people still don't understand you clearly? Or maybe you're worried that your accent makes you sound less fluent?
Oh, absolutely. A lot of learners feel self-conscious about their accent. But here's something important to remember. Having an accent is completely normal. The goal isn't to erase it. It's to make your English sound clearer and more natural.
Exactly. So in today's episode, we're going to break it all down for you. We'll talk about why accents exist, the difference between pronunciation and accent, common mistakes English learners make, and some powerful techniques to help you improve your spoken English.
And of course, we'll share some fun and easy ways to train your accent every day so you can sound more confident when speaking English.
That's right. So whether you want to reduce your accent, sound more natural, or just improve your pronunciation, this episode is for you. Let's get started. So, before we jump into fixing your English accent, let's first talk about what an accent actually is. Julia, how would you describe it?
Great question. An accent is simply the way a person pronounces words based on their native language. Everyone has an accent. Even native English speakers have different accents depending on where they're from, like British, American, Australian, or even regional accents like New York or Texas accents.
Exactly. So, having an accent isn't a bad thing at all. It's just a part of who we are. But sometimes, an accent can make it harder for others to understand what you're saying, and that's when pronunciation becomes important.
Right. So what's the difference between accent and pronunciation?
Good question. Pronunciation refers to how clearly and correctly you say individual words and sounds. Even if you have an accent, you can still pronounce words correctly so that people understand you.
That's an important point. Some learners believe they have to completely lose their accent to speak good English, but that's not true at all.
Not at all. In fact, trying to completely erase your accent can be really frustrating. The goal should be clarity, not sounding exactly like a native speaker, but making sure people understand you easily.
Yes, and speaking of myths, another common question is, can you completely lose your accent? What do you think, Jason?
Well, research shows that if you start learning a language as a child, you can develop a native-like accent. But if you learn English as an adult, you will always have some accent from your native language. And that's okay. The key is improving pronunciation, so your accent doesn't affect communication.
That makes so much sense. So instead of focusing on removing an accent, English learners should focus on speaking clearly and correctly.
Exactly. And coming up next, we're going to talk about some common pronunciation mistakes English learners make and, of course, how to fix them. All right, now that we understand the difference between accent and pronunciation, let's dive into something super important: common pronunciation mistakes that English learners make and, more importantly, how to fix them. Julia, have you noticed any pronunciation challenges that many learners struggle with?
Oh, definitely. One of the biggest challenges is English sounds that don't exist in the learner's native language. For example, the TH sound in words like think and this, many learners pronounce it as S or Z'd, like sink instead of think, or Ziz instead of this.
That's a classic mistake. And one way to fix it is to place your tongue lightly between your teeth and blow air out when saying th. Try it slowly. The, think.
Think. Yes, it feels a little strange at first, but with practice, it becomes natural.
Exactly. Another common mistake is with the short and long vowel sounds. For example, many learners confuse ship and sheep, or bit and beat. The difference is in how long you hold the vowel sound.
Right. A great way to practice this is by exaggerating the long vowel sounds. Say sheep and stretch the E sound she-eep, then say ship with a short sound ship.
That's a great tip. Now, another tricky one is the R and L sounds. This is especially difficult for learners from Asian countries, where these sounds don't exist in their native language.
Oh yes, some learners say rice instead of lice, or light instead of right. The key here is tongue placement. For the L sound, the tongue touches the top of the mouth behind the teeth, but for the R sound, the tongue stays back without touching anything.
Good explanation. And here's a fun way to practice. Say la 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 for L and ra 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 for R. Try it, listeners.
That's a fun exercise. And speaking of tricky sounds, let's talk about silent letters. Many learners pronounce letters that shouldn't be pronounced. For example, in words like no, the K is silent, honest, the H is silent, and castle, the T is silent.
That's true. And the best way to fix this is to listen to native speakers and pay attention to how words are actually pronounced, not just how they are spelled.
Exactly. One more mistake I hear often is adding extra vowel sounds at the end of words. Many learners say worka instead of work, or sport instead of sport.
Yes, this happens because some languages naturally add vowel sounds at the end of words, but English often ends with a strong consonant sound. So, practice saying words like work, sport, and help without adding an extra sound.
Great advice. And coming up next, we'll share some powerful techniques to help you improve your English accent fast.
All right, now that we've covered some common pronunciation mistakes, it's time for the most exciting part. Techniques to help you improve your English accent. Fast, Julia. What's one of the best methods for improving pronunciation?
One of my favorites is shadowing. This is when you listen to a native speaker and try to repeat what they say at the same time, like an echo.
Yes, shadowing helps you copy the rhythm, intonation, and pronunciation of native speakers. The key is to listen carefully and repeat exactly how they say it. A great way to practice is by using podcasts, audiobooks, or even movie dialogues.
Absolutely. You can start with short sentences and slow speed recordings, then work your way up to normal speed. And speaking of listening, another great tip is to train your ear by exposing yourself to different English accents, American, British, Australian, so you get used to different sounds.
That's a great tip. Another technique that works really well is recording yourself.
Oh yes. Many learners don't realize how they sound until they hear themselves. Try recording yourself reading a short text or speaking naturally. Then compare it with a native speaker's pronunciation.
Exactly. It might feel a bit strange at first, but this is one of the best ways to catch your mistakes and track your progress over time.
Another powerful technique is focusing on mouth and tongue placement. The way you shape your mouth and position your tongue changes how you pronounce words.
Yes, for example, for the TH sound, you need to place your tongue between your teeth, while for the R sound, your tongue should stay back and not touch the roof of your mouth. Watching native speakers and practicing in front of a mirror can help a lot.
And don't forget about intonation and stress. English isn't just about pronouncing words correctly, it's also about using the right rhythm and tone. If you stress the wrong syllable, it can change the meaning of a word.
That's true. For example, in the word record, if you stress the first syllable, record, it's a noun, but if you stress the second syllable, record, it's a verb practicing stress. And intonation makes you sound more natural.
Exactly. And here's a fun exercise. Use songs and rhymes to improve your accent. Singing along to English songs helps you practice pronunciation, rhythm, and connected speech in a fun way.
That's a great idea. Music helps you learn natural speech patterns, and it's a fun way to practice. Plus, it keeps you motivated.
So let's recap. To improve your accent, you can use shadowing to copy native speakers. Record yourself and listen for mistakes. Focus on mouth and tongue placement. Practice intonation and stress. Sing along with English songs.
That's a fantastic list. Coming up next, we'll share daily habits that can help you train your accent effortlessly. Now that we've covered pronunciation mistakes and powerful techniques to fix them, let's talk about something just as important: how to practice your English accent every day. Julia, what's a simple habit that learners can include in their daily routine?
One of the easiest and most effective habits is talking to yourself in English. It might sound funny, but it really works. You can describe what you're doing, what you see around you, or even plan your day, all in English.
That's a great tip. And if you're too shy to talk out loud, you can even think in English. Instead of translating from your native language, try forming sentences directly in English.
Exactly. Another great daily practice is reading out loud. Whether it's a book, an article, or even social media posts, read them aloud and focus on clear pronunciation and rhythm.
Oh, I love that one. And if you want to take it to the next level, try imitating native speakers. Watch an English video, pause after each sentence, and repeat it with the same intonation and expression.
That's called mimicking, and it's one of the best ways to sound more natural. And for those who enjoy music, singing along with English songs is a fun way to improve your pronunciation and connected speech.
Right. And let's not forget about tongue twisters. These are great for practicing tricky sounds and improving fluency. For example, try saying she sells seashells by the seashore. Or red lorry, yellow lorry.
Oh, those are tough, but they really help. Another daily habit that makes a big difference is recording yourself speaking and comparing it to a native speaker. This helps you notice small pronunciation differences and improve over time.
Absolutely. And lastly, if you have time, try to have real conversations in English, whether it's with a friend, a tutor, or even speaking with AI voice assistants.
Yes, practicing English daily doesn't have to be difficult. Here's a quick summary of simple habits you can follow. Talk to yourself in English. Think in English instead of translating. Read out loud every day. Mimic native speakers from videos. Sing along with English songs. Practice tongue twisters for pronunciation. Record yourself and track progress. Have real conversations whenever possible.
Those are fantastic daily habits. The key is consistency. Even 10 to 15 minutes a day will make a big difference over time.
Exactly. And coming up next, we'll wrap things up with final tips and motivation to keep you going on your accent improvement journey.
We've talked about daily habits for improving your accent, but let's make things even more exciting. Learning should be fun, right, Julia?
Absolutely. The more enjoyable your practice is, the more motivated you'll be. So let's go over some fun ways to train your English accent.
All right, first on the list. Acting like an English speaker. Pick a scene from a movie or a TV show and act it out. Try copying the exact tone, rhythm, and emotions of the characters.
Oh, that's a great one. You can even pause the video, repeat the dialogue, and try to match the native speaker's intonation and expression. It's like becoming a Hollywood star while improving your accent.
Haha, exactly. Another fun way is to play with accents. Try speaking English in different styles: British, American, Australian. It helps you get comfortable with different sounds.
Oh, I love that. And speaking of fun, here's one I personally enjoy. Karaoke singing along to English songs helps with pronunciation, rhythm, and even breathing control.
That's a fantastic idea. And for those who love games, you can try voice-based language apps like Elsa Speak or Forvo. These apps listen to your pronunciation and give you instant feedback.
That's right. And don't forget about tongue twister challenges. Compete with friends to see who can say tricky sentences the fastest, like Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers.
Oh, that one is tough, but it's a great workout for your tongue. And here's one last fun idea. Talk to AI voice assistants like Siri, Alexa, or Google Assistant. If they understand you, it means your pronunciation is improving.
That's genius. So let's recap some fun ways to train your accent. Act out scenes from movies. Try different English accents. Sing karaoke to practice pronunciation. Use voice-based apps for feedback. Challenge yourself with tongue twisters. Talk to AI voice assistants for practice.
See, learning doesn't have to be boring. Have fun with your practice, and your English accent will improve much faster.
Absolutely. And coming up next, we'll wrap things up with some final tips and motivation.
We're almost at the end of today's episode, but before we go, let's leave our listeners with some final advice and motivation.
Yes, if you're working on your English accent, remember this progress takes time. Don't get frustrated if you don't sound perfect right away. Small, daily improvements lead to big results.
That's so true. And don't compare yourself to others. Your accent is part of your identity. The goal is to be clear and confident, not to sound exactly like a native speaker.
Exactly. Plus, having an accent is not a bad thing. It shows that you speak more than one language, which is impressive. The key is making sure people understand you clearly.
And let's not forget, have fun with the process. Use music, movies, and conversations to make learning enjoyable. When you enjoy the journey, improvement happens naturally.
That's right, so keep practicing, stay consistent, and believe in yourself. Your English will keep getting better.
Absolutely. And that's it for today's episode. Thanks for listening to Easy English Talk. If you enjoyed this podcast, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with your friends.
And let us know in the comments, what's your biggest challenge when improving your accent? We'd love to help.
All right, everyone. Keep practicing, keep speaking, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now. And that brings us to the end of today's episode. We hope you found these tips helpful and that you're feeling more confident about improving your English accent.
Yes, remember small daily efforts lead to big improvements. Keep practicing, have fun with the process, and don't be afraid to make mistakes.
And if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel, Easy English Talk. Your support helps us keep making great content for English learners like you.
And we'd love to hear from you. What's one accent training tip you're going to try first? Drop a comment below and let us know.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode. Keep practicing and stay confident.
Bye for now and happy learning.